Very tasty. Welcome back to Sippin With Sin, #1 podcast about stuff and things and stuff that are important to everybody across the world, across the astral plane, across everywhere, because it is what it is. It is the facts. It is the truth. It is proven by people far, far smarter than us. You know the spiel. If you've been here for a while, if not, it is. Just know that I am telling the truth and there are no fabrications or lies detected here. Welcome back. Episode 114. Another episode for you guys this week. And this will be, I think, our first episode in spooky. Yeah, this will be the first spooky season episode. So welcome to October, ladies and gentlemen. Those that are listening, the time of recording this, it is not October yet, but it's close enough. Close enough that we can officially say that. And spooky season's here, the greatest time of the year. And I will not be, I'm right, you're wrong if you argue that. So without further ado, speaking of that, let's welcome back our esteemed colleague, the one and only Mr. Christian.
How's it going, everybody? Full disclosure, for those of you listening, I am sick as crap. I unfortunately got COVID while doing my job at work. So I'm going to sound a little different and I'm going to look a little different as well for those of you watching on YouTube or live. But I'm here and I have read and watched some things that I'm sure we're going to talk about here soon.
We're not going to talk about nothing. That's it for the podcast. We are done. Over. No, okay, so what we like to do is talk about what we're watching, reading, listening to, or playing this past week. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go first.
All right, so, first things first. Christian, have you seen Beetlejuice?
I have not seen Beetlejuice.
Okay, well, I'm not going to go into detail. I did watch Beetlejuice. Me and the missus were able to go see it. And I have very, very short, vague notes because I kind of figured Christian wouldn't have seen it, so I don't want to go into detail. Whenever he sees it, we can then discuss the movie more in depth. And for those out there, I mean, it's still, a couple weeks it's been in theaters now? Haven't been in theaters very long, so don't want to spoil it for anybody. But my initial thoughts, the music is awesome. It feels like a Burton film, which is fantastic. It makes me happy. Practical effects are great. I really enjoyed them. Michael Keaton is the absolute man, and I will die on that hill. I like Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice, just it works. Does he look a little different? Is he aged? Yeah. I mean, does he have a little bit of a gut? Yeah. But, Beetlejuice is meant to be kind of grotesque and just not appealing. So it works. And I will say that there were a couple things that kind of surprised me. I don't remember them pushing the PG-13 limit, and they drop one F-bomb, and another one gets bleeped, and I was like, wow. And of course it'd be Beetlejuice that drops it, of all people. But I was like, okay, I did not expect that. I thought it was a good time from start to finish. I enjoyed it. I'm not going to lie, probably about 80% through the movie, I was like, how are we going to land this? Like, I feel like we're all over the place. Like, I was wondering how we were going to come to the ending, and they did. And it's fine. Like, it's fun. It's fun. It's a Beetlejuice film, and it was, Winona Ryder's in it. She does fine. I can't think of the lady's name. I want to say it's Catherine something. The mom.
Catherine Zeta-Jones. No, not Zeta-Jones. I can't remember.
Red hair.
I know what you're talking about.
She's the mom from the original. It's cool. It's cool. I liked it. I enjoyed it. The missus enjoyed it. Yeah, practical effects, lots of throwbacks to the old movie, and I will definitely watch it again. And I think Catherine O'Hara. Thank you so much. Someone in chat just said Catherine O'Hara. Bonkers. Thank you. I would buy it. I would put it in the collection with Beetlejuice. Yeah. Do I think they need to keep making them? Not necessarily. Do I think there'll be a Beetlejuice? I don't know. I don't know what they'll do.
I do have a question really quick after hearing your light review. Do you think the franchise essentially would be better if they just stopped here, full stop, didn't do anything else? Or if they were to make more movies, TV shows, animated series, video games, just starring another cast of characters. So Beetlejuice played by someone else.
No.
And all the other characters. Yeah. Okay.
I don't want Beetlejuice to be anybody else.
Okay.
I think you have Keaton, so Keaton already is like, you're familiar with how Keaton's voice is going to sound as Beetlejuice, kind of his mannerisms, how he's going to do things. And he's Beetlejuice. He's that, grotesque, slimebally character that's like conniving. And just, if they did one more, I don't know. It would have to be a strong script, but I don't know that you can. Keaton is what, 60s?
Yeah.
Keaton 60s. Winona Ryder's 50s, 40s.
Oh, she's past that. I'm pretty sure.
50s.
She's past the 40s.
I mean, you have Jenna Ortega's in it. She fits in well, which makes sense because her and Burton have already worked together like Wednesday and stuff. So she blends in well. They had some nice little twists in the story, and I mean, it was a pretty solid story.
Another writer's 52.
Wow. I think I would give it a strong 8 though right now.
That's a good review.
Strong
And
8.
and
but I
Keaton,
enjoyed, for me,
Keaton's
it was
actually
fun.
older. Keaton's older than I remember. He's 73.
Keaton is 73?
He's 73.
Wow. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think you have lightning in a bottle with that cast, and I don't know that you need to. I think if you keep trying to do them, you're just getting greedy at that point, and like, I don't want them to ruin it.
That's fair.
Obviously, I would still say, just for nostalgia and stuff, the first one is my favorite.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed this one. I thought it was a fun movie. Like, ate popcorn, you watch it, you laughed. It's Beetlejuice. It's a good October film that you can watch, I guess, with your family. I mean, there was a few questionable parts. But yeah, for the most part. So watch that. Mrs. enjoyed it as well. Past that, I started a book. Christian.
You wrote a book?
No, I wrote a whole book. I wrote a whole ass book. 382 pages.
Gotcha. I should have known.
Mm-hmm. No, I started a book.
Okay.
And I have gotten a chunk into it. And I have a feeling I'm going to get through it a lot quicker than I expected. Just because, honestly, the chapters and the way it's an audiobook and the way it's being presented to me, it's just kind of rolling through, and it's really good. That book will be Pet Sematary. I have started Pet Sematary. Time of this recording, I am 28 chapters in.
Jeez, I told you, man. I told you.
According to the stuff, it says I have 9 hours and 12 minutes left of the book.
Mm-hmm.
It's around over a 15-hour book or so. Now, I've just been listening in the evenings, and when I can, or like today, whenever I was working on Halloween stuff, I had earbuds in listening, and it's narrated by Michael C. Hall. Those that don't know, that is Dexter Morgan from the show Dexter, and he is crushing it. His voice alone, if he didn't inflect it and do character voices, would keep my attention, just because he's got that kind of voice that keeps you, that captures your attention. But he's inflecting it for Rachel, he'll make it a little softer, or even Ellie and stuff. The voices are nicer and softer, but when he does Judd, it's the best. I love hearing him talk as Judd. It makes me so happy. You don't go near the wood. Just all that, and super twangy country, it's wonderful. But the book's been really good. I've been really enjoying it. There's definitely a lot of stuff that the missus has heard parts with me, if I have it playing on a speaker or something, and she's like, I don't remember that, and I'm like, well, yeah, it's the book. And she's like, that's not in the movie. I'm like, it's the book, and everything in the book is in the movie, so this is the source material. But it's been really good. I've really been enjoying it. But I can't lie, everything I hear on Lewis, I picture the most monotone, emotionless actor ever in the original, and I'm just like, man. I'm just thinking of him just, God. I do love the original, but God, that acting. Top tier.
Yeah, man, I knew that you would enjoy that. Once I read that a couple years ago now, at the time it's recording, and I remember after I read it, they announced that Michael C. Hall was narrating the audio version of the book. So I was like, yeah, Sin's going to love that.
I wonder what else
I'm
he's
glad that you're going
done.
through it.
What other ones he's narrated. If he's done any other
I
Stephen
haven't
King, I'm all for it.
I haven't seen anything that he's done audio wise, but I mean that doesn't mean that
I'm
he
gonna
hasn't done it.
Google it. But yeah, I started that. And then I started a show, but I haven't got far because Mrs. Like, my schedule's been insane, so it's been very hard to like watch stuff. Sadly. But I've started a show. I'm like 2 or 3 episodes in, maybe 2, maybe 3. It's Interview with a Vampire season 2. I think her problem is her favorite character was Lestat, and he's a non-factor at this point in junction in the second season, which Lestat is not a huge part of the books, right? Isn't it pretty much just Louis' story for the majority of it?
So in the original story, like the first one that's the Interview with the Vampire, that story is all about Louis.
Yeah.
But Lestat is a big part of Louis' story because Lestat is the vampire that turned Louis. But all of the books after that focus on Lestat.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah.
Armand is a
Lestat,
bigger part of this season, and that's cool because he's like really old and really strong. But I mean,
I haven't watched any of the second season. What are you watching it on, by the way?
What am I watching? I have no clue actually. Whatever it is, I don't know. One of our streaming things.
Well, when you figure that out, let me know, and I'll try to go and watch it. I watched the first season a couple times actually, but I haven't watched the second one.
A friend of ours actually has a server set up for stuff, and he has like a lot of his movies on there, and he has all of Tales from a Crypt. And I've never watched it from start to finish, all of them. I've watched episodes here and there, but I'm planning on spooky season. That might be my night thing, like whenever it's time to go to bed and stuff, like watching an episode of Tales from the Crypt or something.
Nice.
So I've never watched all of them. There's like 6 seasons, maybe 7 seasons. Like there was quite a few seasons of it.
Oh, I did find out Michael C. Hall has narrated other novels, but nothing I think that you're going to be interested in. He did do another Stephen King novel called Skeleton Crew. But the other stuff that he's done has been like Breakfast at Tiffany's, The Lost Dinosaurs of Egypt, and Violets Are Blue. So nothing that you would inherently be interested in, unfortunately.
He's getting like everything I've looked up. People are like praising him for his narration. He does really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna look and see who's narrated other ones. Okay, so what have you been into this last week?
So for those of you who are just listening and not watching, I have this AMC Studios or theater, Batman Anniversary Cup that I got when I went to go see a movie with my little one this past weekend. And it's a pretty dope cup. It's just like all of the Batmobiles from all live action Batman films, and it's like the symbol, and when you turn the cup it turns into the Batmobile, so I thought that was pretty cool. I also have, that's not on camera right now, it's behind me somewhere, but it's the Batman popcorn bucket that is the bat signal that lights up and shit. I have that as well. Spent way too much money on both of these items, but I love them. And we went to go see, instead of going to see Beetlejuice, which is what I wanted to see, he chose to go see Transformers 1. And I gotta say, like, I had zero hopes for this film. I didn't care about it. I thought that the animation was a little too, Disney. It didn't seem like something that I would enjoy. Plus, the voice actors were all like A-list voice actors, but it was people like as Hemsworth as Optimus. You had Brian Tyree Henry as like Megatron, or D, I think is his name, D16. And you had Scarlett Johansson was a character. Keegan Michael Key was a character. So like all these like popular Hollywood stars doing the voices. I thought that the movie would be better served if we were going to do a new Transformers story completely. Then it would make more sense for us to have new voice actors, people that we weren't used to already, people that can make their new names. Because like we have Peter Cullen's always going to be Optimus Prime, right? Like there's you can't think of Optimus Prime and not have that voice in your head. But like we could have got a new person to come in and be the new Optimus, the new Megatron, the new Bumblebee, all these things that could span from the movies, the TV shows, the video games, all that stuff. But we got this. And I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised. Out of 10, we'll say out of 5. Out of 5, I gave this movie a 4. 4.5 maybe, I think, would have been even better. But this movie ended up being fantastic. Um, it took me a minute to get used to Chris Hemsworth being Optimus because he's just not Optimus to me. He's Thor, and that's just how it is. But like, he did what he needed to do. Like I said, nothing about him screamed Optimus to me, but the character was there. The writing was there. Bumblebee is the exact opposite of what he's always been in the movies, which is about what I thought he was going to be. So, kind of funny. He had a couple jokes in the movie that were funny. Scarlett Johansson's character was exactly what you thought she would be. She plays the same character in every movie that she's in, animated or otherwise. So like she was Black Widow again in this movie essentially, but it worked out for the movie. Brian Tyree Henry as D16 or Megatron, he was the best. He was the best part of the movie, without a doubt. I can't sing the praises high enough for what he did. It was just really well done. The only complaints about the movie that I have, aside from what I just said, was obviously the movie starts off when we have Optimus and Megatron are like homies, they're best friends, and then the turn happens, and then Megatron becomes like his greatest foe. Right? That turn was a little quick. I won't lie, the turn was a little quick, but this movie is made for kids. It makes perfect sense. It's a PG movie, but like it got pretty dark in spots, man. I really thought it was done well. John Hamm was excuse me, John Hamm was Sentinel Prime, which I thought was awesome. Lawrence Fishburne had a cameo in this movie as well. That was awesome. Starscream was voiced by Steve Buscemi, and I thought that was hilarious. It was really funny for me because as soon as I heard his voice, I immediately thought of a super popular meme where he's just like, "Hello, fellow kids," where he's dressed up in a high school uniform and he's got like headphones and shit on, and he's clearly in high school, but he's in his 60s or whatever. I thought that was really funny. But Starscream was really cool in the movie as well. We didn't just enough for the movie to make sense. But yeah, dude, it was animated beautifully. The story and the music fit really well. It was dope, and my kid liked it too. So they had a really good time going to see that. Aside from that, I did watch a couple of things. One of which, but I did get to watch a couple of things over the course of last time we recorded. And the first movie that I watched, I wanted to talk about, was a movie I've been wanting to watch for a long time, but it's called Shot Caller. I don't know if you've seen it, Sin, or heard about it, but the guy that plays Jamie Lannister, I think his name is you know what I'm talking about?
I've watched it, yeah.
Okay, Nicholas Castor-Waldau, I think is his name. I wish that he was in more stuff because he can actually act. Like, I didn't think that he couldn't act in Game of Thrones, but like everybody did what they needed in Game of Thrones. But yeah, it was really cool seeing him play this type of character. And he had like a American accent in the movie as well, which was really funny to see. But I enjoyed that movie, man. Out of 5, I gave it a 3 out of a 3.5. I thought it was really well done. It was a little longer than I hoped. I did enjoy it. Definitely worth watching, especially if you haven't seen it. It kind of reminds me of what's that movie? Brawl on Cell Block. 90 something. I forgot. It's the movie that came out with oh man, now I'm gonna have to look it up because it's gonna bother me. Damn, I'm literally gonna be thinking about this for the rest of the night. Brawl on Cell Block 99, I think is what it's called. Yeah, Brawl on Cell Block 99. It's like the same type of movie. And it stars Vince Vaughn. That's also a good one to watch if you're into the kind of crime, drama, thriller films. Yeah, it's akin to that with the action and the brutality of the fights and stuff. I really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was worth speaking up on. And if you guys listening or watching haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Shot Caller with Jamie Lannister, fantastic. I also rewatched a movie that we talked about on the pod last week because we were on a Dylan O'Brien conversation last week. So I rewatched American Assassin, and it's not as good as I remember it being. I can't lie.
Not because of
That
Dylan
movie,
O'Brien. I will not stand for it.
Dylan. No, Dylan O'Brien. Obviously, he was dope in the movie, but the movie itself, like, here's the thing: it has two of my favorite actors in it. He had Dylan O'Brien and Michael Keaton. Like, come on. But the problem is the movie is too long in the tooth. It takes too long for you to get to the main plot of the story, like what we're really here to do. It takes too long to get there, and all the shit in between really bogs down the viewer experience. Obviously, you have some pretty good fights. This movie came out post John Wick, so of course you have some of the really cool hand to hand CQB stuff going on. But that's not really what the movie is. You do get that, and it's cool to see it, but this movie one isn't something that's like brand new that we haven't seen before. Like it's definitely copy and paste a lot of the other shit we've seen. But Dylan O'Brien as this character was really cool to see. His progression as becoming an assassin, essentially, his progression to see how he evolves with that is pretty good. His motivation is simple, you know what I'm saying? Like nothing that we haven't seen before. He's at the beach with his girlfriend. He proposes. She says yes. They're feeling it. He goes to get drinks. Literally terrorist attack, kill his girlfriend, shoot him, and kill a bunch of people at the beach. And he lives and decides to go after this terrorist cell himself. And it's like I said, nothing new, but it is really well done. It's just long, man. Like honestly, if they took about 30 to 40 minutes out of this thing, it would have been a much better film. And that's not saying anything about the acting. I think everybody did what they needed to do, and nobody's acting stood out to me as really bad. It's just that, like I said, it was too long, and sometimes I don't buy Dylan O'Brien as being this type of character. But then I have to remember they sold me with Tom Cruise as Reacher, like back in the mid 2000s. So if they can sell me on short ass Tom Cruise as being Jack Reacher, then they can sell me on Dylan O'Brien being this character. Especially after seeing the version of Reacher that we will see on Prime years later. Yeah, man, I watched those two films, and those were my thoughts on those. Aside from Transformers One, which is the superior film out of everything I watched this week, and I know that you haven't finished the other show first episode that we're going to talk about, but I do want to talk about that. But I wanted you to kind of get into it first and let us know what you did see.
Are you gonna watch the Mystery Man documentary, the docuseries on Netflix? Because I've seen a lot of stuff about it.
I do plan to watch that. I actually watched a scene from it today that popped up online, but I haven't sat down to watch it yet.
I haven't either, but I definitely want to watch it because, I mean, it's no secret he is not the best human being. You know, he's done a lot of really bad things. And that's not a shocker. I mean, anybody that's like familiar with him, you kind of know that he's not necessarily the best human being. And I guess he
sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. And he is interviewed for most of it, my understanding. Again, I haven't watched it. What I've read. He's interviewed for most of it, but when the allegations come out, the recent like really bad stuff, he canceled all the rest of them and like just disappeared on the interviews. But there's a lot of stuff that comes out and said in it that definitely not going to paint him in the best picture. So I definitely want to watch it and just hear some of the things, and even him defending like shitty things he's done. I'm kind of curious how that's going to go. So I think it'll be interesting. And yeah, but that will be later on. I'm sure we'll get to that. But yeah, so we talked about this, I think, last week. Maybe I don't remember if it was during the recording or not, but Penguin is out. Matt Reeves' Batman World, Universe, whatever. This is a continuation. Well, it picks up following Batman, the events of the Batman, and it stars Colin Farrell as Penguin, who, if you remember from literally like the first five episodes or so of the
I think
podcast,
it was the first episode.
Well, we talked about it for episodes plural. Like we talked about it for more than one. So I think you had watched it, and then I didn't get to watch it for like a couple episodes or something. So like it got brought up multiple times.
Yeah, episode 2, we brought it up, but somebody hadn't seen it yet, and then episode 3 is when we talked about it fully, no spoilers. I have the notes right here, which is hilarious. But these are how small my notes used to be when we started the podcast. Like this right here is a full episode, and this here is a full episode for those of you who can see that watching on YouTube. But yeah, man, I definitely have upgraded how I write things down since then. Wow.
But yeah, we praised Colin Farrell. We praised pretty much everything in the movie, truthfully. But we get the show, and it pretty much is just showing you the dark side, the underbelly of Gotham, if you will, following Oz Cobblepot and Colin Farrell. And I did not sadly get to watch all of it. Just with the schedule and how everything's been, that just hasn't lined up for me or the missus to watch it. We started it last night. We both are really into it. And then she had to go to work. She had to work overtime, so that messed that up. And then Max decided he didn't want to work for the rest of the evening. It's like, we'll watch it today, and then it's not lined up to be able to watch it. So I'm missing like, let's say 20 minutes left because it is a longer episode. So I've watched roughly like 40 something minutes of it. And what little bit I'll talk about. I'm sure Christian's going to go into detail. I really like the look of Gotham. I love the fact that it literally picks up where the movie ends. Like all the events of the movie, we pick up right then and continue over. I think that's cool. My understanding and what they've pretty much confirmed, unless they're lying to us and trolling us, Batman will not be in this, and I am 100% on board with that and okay with that. I don't think we need Batman, in my personal opinion. If the show continues how it's going now, because it feels like what did I compare it to last night? A Sopranos. What the hell did I compare it to? It was Sopranos Batman or something. Like, I forget. I had like a comparison because it's very mafia based, which I dug. But I would be on board with more shows in this vein with more villains of Gotham. Like following them, letting us learn more about their character, developing them as a character. I would be on board with that. I really, really like that it's R. It is rated R. And it is. I don't think it should be sugar-coated. They're villains. They're on HBO. It's the Batman universe. They're not good people. I mean, they're not good people. Like, yeah. Oz is an absolute slimeball, and I love it. Like, we talked about that in the movie. He's a slimeball. Like, he really is. One thing I didn't notice, and it may be because I haven't watched the movie in a couple of years at this point, but I don't remember him limping in the movie.
He had a little bit of a limp in the movie, but it got worse toward the end of the movie because he got hurt. But he did have a limp. We just didn't see him walking around a whole lot out a bunch of action and guns and shit.
Yeah, I like his limp. I really like his limp a lot. I like it's a waddle limp, which fits.
Yeah. Well, remember in the Batman in the movie, people called him Penguin because of that waddle, and he fucking hates that. Like that sets him off. He actually doesn't like the moniker that he has later on. He can't stand that.
One thing I keep noticing really cool. is I look at his eyes a lot. Like I watch his eyes, and you can really tell it's Colin Farrell. Just like there's certain things he does with his eyes, like tells and like the way he makes expressions with his eyes. I'm like, that's Colin Farrell. Like I already knew it was Colin Farrell, but that's like the tell with all the prosthetic on. Like,
yeah, I will say this: you're correct with the eye movement because I watched him in this, and I watched his eye movement. It reminded me of his role in Fright Night.
Yes.
When he was Jerry. Yes. Like does a lot of the same stuff.
It's like a evil he'll look at you like he'll say something, but it's like an evil tone to it, like he's waiting on you. Like and his eyes kind of almost glisten with like this little thing, but there's a hint of like they're so dark that you're like, oh, this is not good. But I don't know.
I'll say this too. If the show goes on this way with the acting being as good as it is, with the writing being as, this is easily Emmy award winning shit, like easily, and not just for the prosthetics and stuff, just like all of it. Because I can't really talk about that part because you haven't seen the whole episode. But you see more of the penguin's like body in this, and it looks pretty good to be made for TV. You know what I'm saying?
Are you talking about like his foot and stuff? Because I've seen his foot. I don't know if that's what you.
I'm not talking about his foot, but I do want to mention that you see pretty early on in the episode his foot and like how messed up it is. And I'm assuming, because they don't actually say this in the episode, but I'm assuming because of the way he was raised and how they were poor growing up, he didn't have the money to go to the doctor and get his foot taken care of and fixed the way that it should have been when he was born. So he has that kind of waddle limp, and it's just gotten worse and worse as time goes, especially living the life he leads.
Yeah.
We also see pictures of him when he's younger in this episode, and he doesn't have that giant gash on his face. So I'm assuming we're going to see how he got that throughout the course of the season.
I will say the gash, you can definitely tell the prosthetic, though, with the way it's like layered on his face when they do real close-ups. You can tell, like, obviously I'm probably looking way too close, but you can tell just how they've like layered it with all that.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, like, you see the character of the penguin in broad daylight, and you can see the prosthetics pretty clearly if you're looking, but it doesn't distract from what you're watching. It doesn't take you out. And I will say,
go in knowing Colin Farrell. You're like, it's Colin Farrell, and then in the first glance, especially in the dark, you're like, it doesn't look like Colin Farrell. But then, like you said, daylight, and the closer you look at him, you're like, you can definitely tell it's him and see the prosthetic, which it's a lot.
I will say this, though. If I didn't know who it was, nobody told us at all who it was, and we just listened to this, like, watched it without knowing, it would be hard to tell that it's Colin Farrell, because he just like morphs into this character so wholeheartily, and it works out. I can also say, like, I am glad that it's rated R. I am glad that they take full advantage of the full R, because this show, those of you who were unfortunate enough or fortunate enough to watch the show Gotham that came out years ago, that spanned numerous seasons, we got Jerome Joker-esque character and all that stuff. This show, just this first episode of Penguin, is like what Gotham, the TV show, wish it could have been, because they took all of these really famous Batman villains before Batman was even a thing, and then tried to make them a thing. You know what I'm saying? It's the same problem you have with like the Venom movies and stuff. You can't take Venom and Carnage and all these other symbiote characters and put them into a franchise of movies and not explain them via Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? This show works because we already got the Batman. We already saw the story through Batman's POV. Now we are seeing the continuation of that through Oz's POV. So it works. Everything that you see in the show is believable. And when you think about, oh, why isn't Batman here? Why isn't he showing up to do this? His hands are tied right now. You know what I'm saying? This takes place, a week after the Batman movie?
Yeah.
It's either 1 week or 2 weeks after the Riddler's, flooding of the city. And Batman is literally like swamped with other shit. So Penguin doing some shit that he's doing right now, and the Falcone family and all that, that's like not the top of his list right now, because now he's not just this vigilante that's in the shadows that nobody's ever seen. Now he's out in the public. Now Gordon can call upon him a little easier. You know what I'm saying? So what I expect to see towards the end of the season, instead of seeing Batman, instead of seeing his silhouette, I expect to see the bat symbol in the sky. That's what I expect. I think that'd be a perfect way to end the season. You know what I'm saying? Penguin starts to do some shit. He starts to climb up the ladder too fucking high. That word gets back to Gordon. Gordon gets back to Batman, or Batman figures it out himself. Either way, I expect to see that signal in the sky towards the end of the series. And that'll be our Batman cameo, if you will. And I think that if they do that, that'll be a really good to kind of show us everything we need to see without showing us Batman. You know what I mean? It's a good little cheeky way to do that. But I have nothing but good things to say about the show.
Can I
If
say
I had
two
to,
things?
yeah, sure.
I think this should be the formula going forward for DC, or at least the Batman stuff. I think you give us a movie, a full-length movie, a Batman movie like we got. We have the movie, we finish, and then you give us something to like that bridges the story, the continuation, like a series or something. Like if they're, I don't know what the next plan is when they're bringing Joker or anything like that, but like say Freeze is the next one. And I have no clue who they are planning for the next Batman, but say Freeze is the next one. You have Freeze, and if he shows up in the movie or whatever, if he's not the main baddie, kind of like Penguin, you bridge with like a Freeze series that lasts, gives like something in the space of the years between the movies that just continues the story and builds the world, if you will. I think that would be a really good formula for this universe and for DC to help it.
Well, I think what you said, yes, I agree 100%. I think that was the plan before the James Gunn DC got announced. So they, instead of scrapping it, they just made it its own thing because one, it sold way too much. Like there was no way they could shelf that because it made so much fucking money and it was actually good. And then the other thing is the idea was there. It was the seed was already planted. So they just was like, hey, Matt Reeves, here's a little slice of the DC world. You can just have that
leave him in that slice alone. Let James Gunn take the rest of it then at this point, because what Reeves has done so far, and we're granted from episode 2 to 8 or whatever we're gonna get, it could shit the bed, but I doubt it does based on the writing, the acting, the shots, everything. I mean, it's literally Gotham from the movie. Like it's the Gotham we know. From what I've seen, dude, he's crushing it. The movie and this so far are fantastic.
I agree.
The other thing, I know you're going to talk about dude getting shot, and he deserved it, and that was so satisfying. I was just like, I mean, I'm not mad at Oz for that.
Oh, you mean
the son? What's his name?
Alberto Falcone.
Yeah, dude, because he was such a piece of shit the whole time, and I was just like, please just kill him. And then finally he pops off too much, and he just snaps, and dude, he shoots.
I do like the way that they cut to that F-bomb and it was the title card, and then in the title card you see him in the body bag, zipping him up. I thought that was really cool. There's a lot of really good shit in this show, man, so far. Well, I can say this. The Penguin, once this is over, the next Batman film is going to take place after Penguin series. Right. And so much so that the Penguin series is supposed to span up until the winter months, which that could be it was October when the Batman started, so we went through that. So this takes place whenever it's taking place. It's supposed to end during the winter, and then the next movie, the Batman 2, takes place during the winter. So a lot of people are thinking, like what you just said, oh, that means we're going to get Mr. Freeze. I think that could be saying that we're going to get Mr. Freeze, but Mr. Freeze doesn't just show up when there's no snow outside. He brings the shit. I
don't really know who they'll do, honestly.
There's a couple of rumors. You got Mr. Freeze is definitely one. Hush is another one.
Oh, God. Please redeem
Clayface.
Hush. Please redeem Hush from that travesty of an animated movie I watched.
I tried to tell your ass it wasn't good.
Well, I had to experience it, and I regret it. It makes me mad.
Yep.
That would be a sick series. If you even just teased Hush, and then you brought him as a series, Hush would be awesome.
Yeah, I can see the Hush series being awesome because you could make it kind of like old school Chameleon from Spider-Man, where he disguises himself as different people. That'd be really cool. But that's the Penguin. Like if I have to rate the episode,
who else were you gonna say? I interrupted you. Hush.
I honestly forgot.
What's Victor?
What about him?
I'm trying to think. Arkham. I can't think of his last name. Is he not one of the options? I'm trying to think of like villains they could throw out there.
No, not that character.
Victor Czar? No. Am I thinking of the right person?
No, that's Zaz. You're thinking of Victor Zaz.
Sorry.
Yeah, but that's not who we would.
I'm just trying to think of who they could possibly do. I don't think you're getting Joker yet, so I'm sorry to spoil it. I would be shocked if we went straight to Joker, unless Matt Reeves is like, all right, I only get one more film. I'm throwing Joker in here to have my version, and that's it. But if he made like Christian said, he made a ton of money on the Batman. I have a feeling the Penguin is going to be a success and make quite a bit of money and great reviews. So I don't think they're going to pull the rug from him just yet. So he might get maybe two more movies.
And you're talking about Victor Aguilar that's in the show.
No. I'm talking. No, I wasn't relating to anybody in the show. I was trying to think of another villain.
Okay. I got you.
Who else are some villains they could do? I mean, there's a ton of Batman villains, but I'm trying to think of one just because you gotta it's more of a realistic base, so you have to think of like who can you make into like someone that's an actual person. I don't really know what you could do with Freeze. I mean, you could do stuff.
Well, if they're keeping it realistic, Freeze would obviously have to change. So I don't know what that would look like, if I'm being honest. And I'm not sure if that's something that I necessarily want, but we'll see. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure that there's characters that Matt Reeves can't use if James Gunn is planning to use those characters because they don't want to confuse people. So we'll see. But what I can say is I noticed in the show, I forgot to bring this up earlier, but they don't call him Oswald Cobblepot, like at all. His name is straight up Oz Cobb.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about that, but it makes sense because the Penguin from the comics, like he came from money, like Bruce Wayne. This version of the Penguin did not come from money, so it makes more sense for him to have a slightly different name and upbringing and how brutal he can be with what he does. I also wanted to say really quickly that Sophia Falcone in the show that we see in this first episode, she is in the comics, especially if you read Long Halloween or the sequel Dark Victory. She's in the sequel a lot more than she's in Long Halloween, but she's known as the Hangman, and she goes fucking hard, bro. She goes hard and kills people. She doesn't give a damn. But I'm used to Sophia Falcone being big. Like every time they display her in animated stuff or in the comics, she's always this really big, tall, super like butchy woman who you could totally see picking somebody up by the throat and just squeezing their neck until they die. Like she's huge. But in the show, she's like this petite like little white woman. So I was very confused by that. But then I had to remember in the Matt Reeves universe, they're making things more realistic. So instead of her just being super fucking strong, she's going to have to be really crazy and wily. So think about Joker, think about Harley Quinn, essentially. Like, crazy as hell. Also,
they already
really
said
smart.
she come from Arkham. Like, she just got out of Arkham or something.
Just got out of Arkham. And we find out in this, and I think you've already gotten there too.
Yeah.
But in this episode, she goes to Arkham because Penguin saw something that she did, told her dad, and her dad had her sent to Arkham.
Yep.
The only person who visited her every week was her brother, who we saw get dispatched with the quickness at the beginning of the episode.
He deserved it.
He did. He was a piece of crap.
He was. I do like the new character they introduced, the one you mentioned, Victor. I like him. Yeah. He's going to be like your...
He's very easy.
Not your moral compass, but he's like one of the few like semi-good characters. I know he wasn't necessarily doing the best thing when he got introduced, but I feel like he's going to be your semi-good character. Like, to show a little bit of a lighter side to Oz, maybe.
Here, let me stop you there. I don't think it's a coincidence. Hear me out. I don't think this is a coincidence. Think about Jason Todd from the comics. Yeah. Jason Todd becomes the second Robin. He's kind of brutal. Fans don't like him because he talks back to Batman. He does all this crazy shit. He doesn't mind killing people. And then the Joker beats him with a crowbar to death and he blows up, right? Comes back later on as Red Hood, right? Everybody's favorite Batman character for some reason. So we have that. The way that Jason Todd was introduced in the Batman comics was by trying to steal the wheels off the Batmobile. Then we get this character, and he was a child. Then we get this character, Victor, in the first episode of the Penguin show, who is trying to steal the rims off the Penguin's, like, what was it, purple Maserati?
Yeah.
So we have that going on. Or plum, excuse me. It's plum.
Yeah, don't call it purple.
So we have him doing that, and then the Penguin, like, threatens to kill this kid, and then he's like, I can help you, I can do this, I can do anything. takes him on as his ward, essentially, like a Robin. So I think you have to compare this kid to Jason Todd. So when we first meet Jason Todd, he's doing something wrong for a seemingly innocent reason. He comes from a broken home, just like Victor does. Then he gets taken in by this incredibly influential character, Batman slash Penguin, and then they get taught like everything that this person knows, and then
And it
they kind of
becomes the
go off
Black
the
Mask.
rails. But you know what I'm saying? They just go off the rails. So I think that we constantly compare Victor to Red Hood. Nobody has been saying that since I've seen this episode drop that I've heard of. And if they have, please comment below, let us know. Like, I want to hear that. But that's the comparison that I'm drawing. Being a fan of Batman for as long as I have been, that's what I'm thinking of. So every episode, I'm going to be looking for him to act like Jason Todd. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say on that.
Okay. A really good show though. If you haven't watched it yet, go watch it on Max. Hopefully your Max will not act crazy like mine. But I'm really enjoying it. I'm excited. Do you know how many episodes? Is it 8?
I believe it's 8 episodes.
8
yeah.
episodes. I'm really excited. Sundays, I have something to look forward to on Sundays. I think, one episode in, hour and 6 minutes or whatever it is, even though I haven't finished it, I'm thoroughly pleased with it thus far. Like I really,
it's
Sopranos and Gotham is what I think. Because they got on the train last night. I was like, I feel like I'm watching Sopranos kind of, and I love the show Sopranos, so it's up my alley.
It's definitely up in that vein. And first episode was an hour, 7 minutes, and I think every other episode will be 40 minutes roughly. So that's what we can expect.
Do you think they could do more villains like this? Do you think
they definitely could?
There's
do that.
Plenty of villains for sure.
I think that if they were going to go down this route, they could do before people started feeling fatigue from it. So I think you would get like 3 really solid seasons of different villains before people were like, okay, I'm tired of this. That way they don't overstay their welcome. But then you have to choose which villains and how crazy they're going to get. And
they need to tie in the movie too.
Involved.
I think tying in the movie is the key. Because do we know, is he done after this? Didn't he say something about he didn't want to wear the prosthetic anymore or something? Like,
I honestly don't know, so I don't want to put that out there and be wrong.
Which we don't know how it's going to end. I mean, obviously, Penguin and Batman have several goes at it, but we don't know what Matt Reeves' plan for Penguin is, so we'll see how it plays out. But can't wait to talk about the next episode and finish this one next week. But I guess we have anything else, or is it time to...
Yeah, I did. I forgot to bring this up earlier. We talked about what we've been watching, playing, reading. I forgot to mention that I have been playing or trying to play, since I got sick, a game I just bought, which is the Dead Rising remaster. Like, in a nutshell, I'll say this so I don't talk forever. It's fantastic. If you had any reservations to getting this, let me tell you now to just let those reservations go. It's the same game, better graphics, better controls. Get it. It's fantastic. And this is me only playing the game for like so much so that I got trapped at a part because I had like 4 survivors with me accidentally, and I went outside at night. Some psychos showed up with a truck that has a machine gun on it, and they just mowed us down. So I just said fuck it, and I just started the game over, because when you start the game over, you keep your level and stuff. I did that, but the game is fun as hell. It's just as fun as I remember it being. I love it. Like I said, if you were thinking about getting the game, you should get it. We also got a couple of trailers that came out that I wanted to bring up really quick. Ghost of Yotai trailer came out. I'm sure you saw that.
Yep.
I mean, what can I say that hasn't already been said? Dual wielding swords, female protagonist. I'm getting it day one. And I think that it's something to be said. The day that this trailer dropped, the very next day, Assassin's Creed postponed their game. I thought that was insane. Assassin's Creed, that has a very similar story, a very similar aspect of the game, they're delaying their game like 4 months, I believe. It's not coming out until February. It's supposed to come out October, which is now. But yeah, it's not coming out now until February. So I thought that was very interesting. Once that trailer
I thought it was
dropped,
supposed to come out in November.
it might have been November. I thought
Maybe
it was October.
I don't know. It was this year before Christmas because it was gonna be like a Christmas-y release, one of the big AAA releases for Christmas time.
Yeah, so that got pushed.
I didn't know that got postponed. That sucks. I was looking forward to that. Yeah, it definitely got.
It released a giant page letting us know, that they didn't have everything they were going to polish the game and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, whatever you say. The other bit of game news that I wanted to was Mortal Kombat.
The Ghost of Tsushima, like literally, they didn't even have to show me anything. All they had to do was say sequel, and I would have been sold. That game,
100%.
Like that's all I needed. I don't even think I've really seen much of the trailer. I've seen a bit, some pieces, and I saw a sequel, and I was like, done. I want it.
It takes place several years after the first game, and your new character kind of goes down the same path as Jin Sakai, so I'm excited about it.
I can't wait.
But it's beautiful. It looks, like literally, there's nothing I can say positive that hasn't already been said. Like I'm excited.
If you haven't played Ghost of Tsushima for whatever reason, do yourself a favor, play it because it is beautiful, fantastic game, start to finish. Highly recommend it. I loved it.
Top 5 games of all time for sure.
It's that game I platinumed that game, and I did that without even like, I don't know. I was just like, I was so into it. It was an easy platinum. I was just thoroughly enjoying my play, like all of it. I can't wait.
The other bit of news was Mortal Kombat 1 finally dropped their Chaos Reigns DLC, which is the extra piece of story mode that I think is like an hour. A bunch of cinematics. You get some new characters. You get Pyrax and Sector, and you also get Noob Saibot. So we play through that story, and you guys know, you've been here with me for the entire release of Mortal Kombat 1. I've talked mad shit about this game. I've also said what I like about this game. And we've had the game now for a year, and it's not any better than it was when it released. A lot of people are saying now, like, oh, here's my hot take. Here's my hot take. And I tell all those people, shut up. It's not a hot take. I've been saying the same shit for 365 days. Mortal Kombat 1 is not better than Mortal Kombat 11. I've been saying that. And now that this DLC's come out and you got to pay, what is it, $50 to get this DLC and then these other characters that are coming out, and then you get an animality patch or whatever. Everybody's talking shit about the game, like, oh, it's not as good. I don't know. Like, shut up. Y'all weren't complaining when you were doing the tournament, but now we're complaining. And it's just like, dude, hold this studio accountable, right? NetherRealm Studios can do better. They've done better. We should hold them accountable. The only way you can hold them accountable is by doing it with your wallet. Here's the thing, and I've said this, I'm sure I've said this before, probably on this podcast, but I can't justify spending another $40 to $50 on another hour of storyline and 3 extra characters, and then we get another 5 characters later that they're going to release throughout the course of a year. So if they release a character once a month each year, that means that we'll stop getting characters next spring. That's cool, but by the time you get the final character, which is the one that we all want to see how they play, which is Ghostface, nobody's going to want to play the game anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's been out too long. There's other shit out. There's other things to do. The shelf life for the game has outlived itself, right? But the other thing people are saying are, instead of us getting like this animality patch for free, it would have been cool if they gave us rooms, right? Rooms so you can invite people in, so you don't have to do King of the Hill. And I agree with that. But that's something that I'm pretty sure I said once the game dropped. I'm pretty sure that I was saying that earlier. I'm pretty sure that when I was talking about my initial gripes with the game. And to say again, I'm not here just to talk shit about Mortal Kombat 1, because like, the game is fun. Like, I'm not gonna sit up here and say I'll never play the game. It's not fun. I don't want any of the downloadable characters. Like, no, I bought the stuff day one. I wanted all the characters. That's out now. I just don't want to spend another $50 on this, because I know that a year from today they're gonna re-release Mortal Kombat 1. It's gonna be called the definitive edition, and we're going to have all the characters, all the costumes, all the DLCs, all the storylines, all that stuff bundled up in one game. And if you already have Mortal Kombat 1, you'll be able to spend, I don't know, $30 to get the upgrade so that you can get all of the shit in the game, or you can just buy the new disc that has all the shit in it. That's what Mortal Kombat games always do. They've been doing that since what, Mortal Kombat 9 or X? I think 9. But they've been doing that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to play the waiting game, you want to be patient, you can do that. I'm not always patient. So if I really want to play Ghostface, if I really want to play Conan the Barbarian, if I really want to play the T1000, then I'll buy the DLC. But as of right now, spending another $50, that's a no for me. But that's it though. I just wanted to bring that up. And I just have been looking up information about that recently, and a lot of people have been sharing my same sentiments. Aside from that, the last thing I wanted to bring up before we talk about the major thing that we were going to talk about is I have been reading, and I've been reading this here, Game of Thrones. This is book 2 called Clash of Kings.
Before you get into Game of Thrones, I looked up Assassin's Creed because I was curious. It was supposed to come out November 15th, currently delayed till February 14th, Valentine's Day 2025. It's speculating that a mid-week Star Wars Outlaws performance at Ubisoft, like sales, is why they're pushing it. Sales are not there. So I don't know why you would push it back unless they just want to like make sure it comes out as top notch as they can, I'm guessing, so it doesn't come out and flop with, you know, bad performance out of the gate. It's fun. It is really weird timing though that the delay comes, the delay came a day after Shishima's announcement though. So I don't know what.
I mean, you can look into what the publicists say and see what the actual arguments are for that kind of thing. But you and I have been, you know, following this kind of stuff, covering this kind of stuff for a while. And the coincidence is just too much. You know what I'm saying? It's too big of a coincidence for me to just believe that the Star Wars game that they knew was going to come out and flop, came out and flopped, and then now they're doing this. Like, I don't think that Assassin's Creed was going to be this big of a hit, first off, and then second, I don't think that it would have been hindered by the bad Star Wars game. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody has been talking about the Star Wars game in a positive light. Like Outlaws, nobody's been talking about Outlaws in a positive light since it dropped. It's not good. It's glitchy. The story is not great, to say the least. Like, there's so many things wrong with that game, and Ubisoft kind of does this to people. They know what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? They fuck people all the time. So they put out the game. It didn't do well, and then Samurai focused with Assassin's Creed, which is a franchise that they've been banking on for years. And then you get this other game that comes out that's also samurai focused by Sucker Punch Studios, who put time and effort into their games. And everybody has been wanting a sequel to Ghost since the first one dropped. That lets you know how good the game is. When they re-release Ghost for the remastered version, for like, people ate that shit up. They went crazy for that. Not just because they wanted to play it again, but because the game was that good, it warranted this. So to have Assassin's Creed be pushed to Valentine's Day, like, sure, that's cute and kitschy, but I just think that the excuse is a little weak. Yeah. But that's just me, though.
I mean, I'm going to say Ghost isn't coming out until probably holidays next year.
Makes sense.
That would be my guess. I don't think Ghost comes out early in the year. You just announce it in essentially just about October. I think you have about a year until it's coming out. Like probably October, November next year.
Didn't they just announce that they're doing a Soul Master?
Yeah, that comes out in December. I guess that's done in remaster. I think I want to say December 10th, but I could be wrong. And I've actually never played the Soul Reaver games.
Yeah. That's another one of those games where you don't have to tell me anything. You can just say that it's remastered, and
I played the first Blood Omen with Kane, but I never played the remasters. Or not the remasters, but you know the ones with whatever face is. What's the dude?
Yeah. How did I forget this all of a sudden?
Kane is the bad guy in these, right?
Kane, yeah.
Yeah, the first one you play as him, and it's vampire. Isn't it like Diablo, like top-down camera kind of style? It's like very different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Why am I blanking on this character's name? I literally talked.
He looks awesome. Azrael?
He is. That might be it. Actually, I'm probably
It starts
thinking
with an
about
A,
it too
right?
hard.
He's got
Yeah,
like the scarf around his face.
it's either Azrael or Azazel. I can't remember
I don't
which
know.
one.
Like I said, never played him. I want to play him though. I would love to check him out because they've always been hyped up to me quite a bit, and I just never had the chance to play him.
But you said you did play the Legacy of Kain, right?
Yeah, the very first game.
How did that happen?
I don't even know. That would have had to been on PlayStation, the original PlayStation. Is that right?
Yeah, it was on PlayStation and then Xbox, the original Xbox.
Okay. So yeah, it was original PlayStation. I must have borrowed it from somebody, but I remember playing it. I played it at my grandparents because I remember like playing it in their living room, which I'm sure they were probably like, "What the hell is he playing?" But
his name doesn't start with an A. It starts with an R. I still can't remember what it's like. Raziel.
Yeah.
Raziel.
Okay. There you go. See.
I don't want to look it up because I should be able to remember this for myself, but I think it's like Raziel.
There you go. We'll go with that. I don't know. I was throwing stuff out. Yeah.
Because I know Kain I know he's like the original vampire. Oh man, I don't know why I'm overthinking this so hard, but he's like an anti-hero. Kain is. I mean, anyway, we can get into that later. Like it's not a major thing. We'll move on. Oh, I was talking about the Game of Thrones book. I'm reading the second Game of Thrones book right now called Clash of Kings. Yes, I have a little cute pocket version of the books. I bought a set that's all leather bound, and this is just the way that they came. I'm a little over halfway done with this one. I remember talking about the first book and how I was finishing that on the last pod. I'm just kind of going through these, especially being sick and not having time to do anything other than read. It's a really nice read. Obviously, there's some really heavy stuff going on in this book, but like seeing how the characters progress is really cool. We finally get chapters with Theon in this book, and like so far, Theon's not a total POS yet. Like he's still like in the show, he kind of felt bad about what his dad wanted him to like take and stuff, but Theon's also super ambitious as well because he wants to prove to his dad that he's like a prodigal son, so much so because Yara, his sister, is essentially the prodigal son without being a male born child. So like it's all that's happening. I just read the death of King Renly and how that happened. Brienne and Lady Catelyn were there. How that happened was a little different. And I'm pretty sure we haven't actually met Stannis yet. We've heard about Stannis. We've heard about the Red Woman. We've heard about Davos, the Onion Knight, a lot actually. But we've never really seen them yet in the books, from what I understand. And I might have like biffed on a chapter and they talked about them more, but like yeah, we haven't really been introduced yet. So that's really cool and that's a big difference. Um, Stuff with Gendry and Arya is a little different as well. And I kind of like the way it's playing out in the book more than in the show, because in the show it was way more romantic than it is here. She doesn't really have romantic interest in the book, which is how I think it should be. A lot of the characters don't really have romantic interest, at least right now. John hasn't met Ygritte yet. He hasn't gone beyond the wall yet. Um, Actually, I lied. He has met. Was it Craster? He's met Craster already, and Craster sucks. He sucks so bad. Ser Jorah has already like gone through a bunch of stuff with Daenerys. Daenerys is now in the City of Cards. Like a bunch of stuff is happening in the books, but we get a lot of chapters in this book with Bran. We get a lot of chapters with Catelyn, and Tyrion as well. Tyrion has some of the better chapters in this one. Like I really liked all his chapters in the first book too, but in this one in particular, Tyrion's chapters like progress the story, and they also fill you in on a bunch of stuff. The game that he plays with Cersei this whole time, and how she's always trying to manipulate things, and how Tyrion is like in on the joke all the time is really cool. He's clearly very witty, like he is in the show, but it's different in the book. You know what I'm saying? Like the way that he is witty, the way that he has allies is different. And then also the character so far who is the most different in the books to the show is what's his name? Varys. Varys the spider. So fucking different in the book. Varys is like straight up a master of disguise, like legit. He always dresses certain ways to blend in different places. He puts on prosthetics. He has like fake mustaches and shit. Sometimes he's straight up on shower so that he'll smell different. He walks differently. He talks differently depending on where he is and who he's talking. Like he's met Tyrion a couple of times in secret locations, and every time he pops up, Tyrion doesn't know that it's him. And I'm just like, are they gonna tell? Like, I know this isn't the case necessarily, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if we got somewhere in the books that Varys was a part of the Faceless Men at one point. Just the way that he does shit, like he's not an assassin, but like, bro, all the other shit that we see Arya do in the show and like read that she's going to learn in the books, there seems to already be there, but he didn't really learn it. Just like straight Bruce Wayne in this shit. You know what I'm saying? So, he's one of my favorite characters in the book. Varys, Tyrion, and Jon right now are my favorite characters. Bran is also really cool, but Bran is very clearly a child, and he is written as such. So the way that he doesn't want to believe in Jojen, you know, the kid that he meets in the show that tells him that he's gonna meet the three-eyed raven and all that, like it's very childish, but it makes sense because he is a child. Rickon is also a child, so everything that he does and says is very, very childish. And then you like juxtapose that with how Rob is doing right now and the war that he's fighting, and then how Theon is doing and the war that he's about to start fighting. Jon, how he's about to start fighting in this war, because Jon's doing so much shit. He's got to deal with being a brother on the wall. He's got to deal with the politics that go with that. He's got to deal with wildness. He's got to deal with being beyond the wall. He's got to deal with the war that's coming, like all that shit. And then you have Daenerys too. And Daenerys is cool in the books. Like so far, she's like really easy to read. But she also says and does some shit that I think is really stupid, but not like so dumb that it doesn't make any sense. It's just like George R. R. Martin writes her where it's just like, listen to Jorah. Just listen to Jorah. But when she doesn't listen to Jorah, most of the time, wrap that shit back together and like make it work. But if magic wasn't involved and she is and how she can't be hurt by fire and shit, if that wasn't a thing, she would have been dead, bro, because she doesn't listen sometimes to the people who are trying to counsel her. But I do really like her because she's becoming more and more singularly focused. And her motivations, they're hard to deny. You know what I'm saying? They're hard to deny. And like I said, most of the people that are listening to me talk right now have seen the show. They've watched it several times. So they're getting their information based off of that. But I'm telling you guys, it is different. It's worth a read. I highly recommend it. But I could talk forever about what I've read in the books, how it's different. But just know Varys is the most different character by far from what I've been reading. And I really like him. So, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. And I should be done with this before we start the next pod, but I'll let you guys know what happens, if anything else is different, and where my head is when I get there.
Okay. Khaleesi still sucks, I'm just going to say. She still sucks. And Christian's like, I'm not touching it. I'm not taking the bait.
No words. I got nothing.
All right. So it's time now that Christian praised Khaleesi more. It is time that we go to our new segment. It's the second installment of Cinema. Cue long camera rolling sound. That's right out there, listeners. Just enjoy it. Just let it tickle your ear holes. Okay. It's finally done. That is a lengthy little camera. All right, so we picked we locked it in last week, and this week we did indeed watch Last Shift. This movie was suggested by Jordan, so shout out to Jordan for that. Jordan was trying to hopefully redeem himself after the abomination that was last week. If you didn't hear last week's episode, essentially both movies we watched, we doubled up because the first movie was so bad. And both movies sucked. So there was that. So it was just a stinker across the board. But we have Last Shift. Come out around 2015, 2014, something like that, I think. IMDb rated it 5.8 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 100%. And, yeah. Christian, you watched it, right? You watched Last Shift?
Did watch it.
Watched it.
I did
Okay.
watch it.
Yeah, I don't really know how to start. I guess I can give you my notes and then Christian can talk. Notes are pretty brief. I will say this movie is better than last week. So thanks, Jordan, for at least semi-correcting the course. You at least went from completely off-road, like through the ditch somewhere off in the woods, to you're like at least on the shoulder of the road where like we're getting back where we need to be. So it's better than last week. It is a very low-budget movie, and you can tell that it restrained them when doing the movie. You could tell they wanted to do more than they could do in parts. And what I mean by that is a lot of times with B movies, they'll embrace, hey, we don't have the money and it's a B movie, so just make it ridiculous. Like, you just know they embrace the nonsensical part of it. Like, we're just rolling what we got. Case in point, like, poo. You know, like, it just... Some of the stuff is so bad that they're just like, you have to make fun of it. It makes it a better time. This movie stayed more on the serious path. They were trying to, for real, scare you and creep you out. And they were definitely restrained from the low budget. So that's not their fault. It was an interesting premise where pretty much a rookie cop is doing last shift on a police station before it shuts down and they start at a new police station. So that's essentially what it is. These cultists haunt it, and there was like 20 women or something that had died there. Something along those lines. Cop's father was also killed during the incident, I believe, where the women died, right, Christian?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cop gets a call during the movie from, I think it's the last woman that died, and pretty much calls her over and over again, different times, all that stuff. There is a homeless man at the beginning, and you see... They make the I'm trying to think of the correct word for it. They make the rookie cop show like the purity of their heart. There's a homeless man without shoes that comes in, pisses in the floor. She finds a pair of boots that are left there and gives them to him. All that, kicks him out of the cop station, like the police station, all that stuff. But the homeless man, I think, was a father of one of the girls that died. I think, unless I misunderstood. Is that right?
Say that one more time.
I think the homeless man was actually the father of one of the girls that died. And like
I didn't catch that.
And then like he's coming by just because that's where his daughter died, and it's like kind of like a visit, almost like a grave, I guess, if you will. I'm thinking, I don't know. I could be way off, so don't take that to the bank. That's just kind of what I interpreted, so I don't know. The cop's name is Jordan? No. What the hell was her name?
Her name is Jess.
Jess, there we go. She ends up seeing cultists after she gets a phone call, which sounds like her father telling her pretty much to fight back for all the spooky shit she's seeing, because she's seeing stuff throughout the movie, different things all throughout the station. It's like a goofy Resident Evil police station thing. And she starts killing them, but you find out she's just killing hazmat people. She's seeing stuff and just popping some hazmat people as they bust in, and her superior, her boss, actually shows up and shoots her because she's capping people. Before she dies, she sings a song that the girls sing before they die, and then at the end, the cultists show up and bag her head like they had been done. So that was pretty much my notes. And the special effects, again, the financing of it definitely hindered. There's parts where like they're trying to contort the body of like the things haunting her and all, and it doesn't look creepy. It just looks like what would it be, freeze framing? Is that what it is? Or it's like it just doesn't go smooth. There's a lot of stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of what I had. Christian, what did you think about it?
What was your rating, real quick, before I go into that?
I didn't know if we were saving the ratings for the end or not.
We'll save them. We'll save them.
Okay.
Um, so my notes are a lot like yours, just because I was watching this and trying to take some notes as well. So I missed quite a bit, and I didn't want to have to watch this again, just because I didn't want to run out of time.
I wasn't watching it again. So that probably tipping towards my rating. Jordan, I will say you're on a better. This is better than last week. I will at least give you all that.
Yeah, I know that Jordan's not in the chat today. He let me know that ahead of time. But when you listen to it, I can tell you right now, this is a much better choice than both films from last week. I'll save my rating for after, though. I will say this before I give you a rating, before I talk about my. If you were to take a shot every time someone makes a phone call in this movie, you would be trashed before you got halfway through the film. That's all I wanted to say on that. Just to let you know how many phone calls are made during the course of this film. It's kind of comical. But aside from that, the movie kind of starts off with a phone call. And we have our main character, Jess, talking to her mom about the job and her dad, and we get a feeling that the dad has passed. We don't know the inner workings of that, but it's a sore subject. We have that going on, and we know it's her first day. She enters the jail. She meets the Sarge, who looks like a ghost to me. He's just really gaunt and weird looking. He literally looks like he's dead. Which says a lot about the movie and what's going to happen. But he tells her pretty much not to leave the building, to stay in there, watch the front desk, answer the phones if they ring, and then he'll be back at the end of her shift, which is I think at 4 a.m. is how they describe that. I think that's how that goes. Yeah, 4 a.m. Anyway, the movie kind of goes on, and we see a homeless man walk in. He doesn't walk. Scary movies his way in, where he's just like, she sees the doors open, and then bam, there's the homeless guy in there. He takes a piss, like Sin was saying. She kind of runs him out, and after she cleans up the piss, she finds the boots. It looked like they might be the guy's size, so she takes those boots and puts them outside, like Sin was saying, to show you the character of this person. We see that. Then we start the first of the Monica calls, which I like to call the spooky calls. And she also gets a call from Joe, who we'll get a couple of calls from as well. So that happens. We get some more spooky shit happening. The homeless guy is back. He's got the boots on. He does some spooky shit, and she tases his ass. Then we see a spooky face in the holding cell that she's in. She gets trapped in there with the homeless dude, but he's like knocked out from being tased. So she doesn't know who's locked her in the holding cell. She doesn't have her flashlight anymore. And said spooky entity is just fucking with her at this point. So that's happening. Let's see. Then she finally gets out of there. We'll just call it the entity right now. The entity is done fucking with her. It's not fun anymore. So he lets her out. It lets her out. And then she goes back to the front desk, essentially, right? She leaves the homeless dude locked up in the holding cell, though, because why not? When she gets back to the front desk, we see that she sees the word Sal on the ceiling, which is another word for a female pig or police officer. So I thought that was really funny. But also, one of the spooky phone calls that she got from Monica, she said that there were pigs wherever she was located. So that lets you know where that's coming from. Then we meet Marigold. She has a black eye. She's clearly a woman of the night, if you. I don't know why the fuck this scene was in the movie. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, watching this, I was like, is she only here to give us like exposition dump? She's just telling us the plot of the movie that we didn't see, just telling us all the shit. And then once she's done telling us the story, she just fucking walks off. And I was like, what the hell? There had to be a better way to do that. So the movie's low budget. It takes place in like one location,
Yeah,
2 locations inside this empty police precinct, and then outside of it where we meet the character I just mentioned. That happens. Like I said, she gives a massive fucking info dump and then walks away. I was so put off by that and pissed. I just thought that was kind of crazy. So that happens. TV flicks on, and then we get our first look at John Michael Payman. Payman being one of the kings of hell that ruled, I think, next to Satan. Yes, the very same Payman that we told about in the Hereditary film, which is a much better film than this, if I'm being honest. Then we get the fucking, I call it the chair spinning scene, where she's standing up in this room and then all these chairs just one at a time start spinning at her, and then one of them hits her in the legs and she like does this dramatic fall, and I was like, what the hell? It was just very, very silly. Then she gets more phone calls, and after that we meet Officer Price. Uh, Guys, if you haven't seen the movie yet, obviously this is full spoilers. He talks to this officer. We get a big old info dump again. He tells her about her dad and how they used to work together and how he died that night on the force because they were going after this Payman family that's like the Manson family, and they were killing all these girls, and the dad got killed, and he was such a good guy. And then once this cop walks away to leave, you see he has this giant hole in the back of his head, letting us know that he is clearly dead and she's been talking to a ghost the whole time. It reminded me of the scene from The Sixth Sense where the kid's like, you want to see my dad's gun? And then he turns around and he's got the old bullet hole in the back. It reminded me a lot of that. Like it was pulled almost directly from that. So yeah, they have that, and it was, it was cool to see, but goddamn. Anyway, moving on. After that, we see some more spooky shit. Then we see this weird crawling girl following Jess, and then she meets these singing dead girls that like don't have anything on their face, and as they turn around from the mirror, they have these weird like, tags over their faces, with blood coming out, which clearly shows us that they are the women that officer mentioned that got killed earlier before the film even started. Like all the coolest shit in this movie happened off screen, by the way. There's that. What else happens? She calls the Sarge finally to tell her that she can't do this shit anymore, but he's a total POS. Then we see that she tries to leave, but the phone starts ringing again. So she comes back in to answer the phone. Turns out Monica has been dead all this time. Monica's been dead for a year. And all of a sudden, the floor is covered in crime scene photos. And one of the crime scene photos is her dad. And this causes her to kind of have a little breakdown. And then this like high-pitched mechanical sound happens. And she like passes out all of a sudden. I was just like, okay, cool. She wakes up and then her like gun belt is gone. So she's got to go find that, which is crazy.
You know what this sounds like
wakes,
as you're reading it? It sounds like a horror video game. You know how like the stories are not like as well, I mean some of them are polished, but not as polished. And you're just like waking up. Oh, I woke up. What happened? Oh, I must find my gun belt. It's missing. Like
yeah,
like that Resident kind of shit. Oh, I'm gonna leave. No, there's a phone call. Hold on. Let me answer the.
Let me answer the phone so I can save the game. Yeah. Also, I lost all of my weapons. I have to go retrieve them by running from the
that's what it
spooky
sounds
things.
like as you're reading it. It sounds like a really like older horror video game.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's practically what it is as we move forward. You know, let's see. So she wakes up. Her gun is missing. Out with her own baton by this crazy bitch. We get another info dump from this crazy bitch that we've never seen before. She gives us an info dump about John Michael Payman. She loves him, and she wishes that he took her with him that night a year ago instead of those other two bitches, and blah, blah, blah. Long story short, she's like, it's the anniversary of their deaths, and then she just blows her fucking head off with Jess's gun, so that's insane. And we never see this woman again, by the way. That's the end of her. So crazy. Then she gets another spooky phone call from Monica. Then this is the best part of the movie to me, by the way. She gets that spooky phone call from Monica, and she's like, Monica's been dead for a year, blah, blah, blah. And then the person on the phone starts like evil laughing. then she hears this bump under the desk, and she looks under the desk, and Monica's under the desk. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's a nice jump scare right there. Nice. I personally think that's the best one in the whole movie. Because Monica's face is all fucked up. She clearly got beat to death with a baseball bat. Like, it's disgusting. Monica turns out to be the crawling girl that we saw earlier in the film, whose bones are like cracking as she's crawling around and shit. Jess can't leave. Her bullets won't penetrate the glass for the doors. It's crazy. She gets a phone call again.
Shit.
Yeah, some ghost force field, exactly. What the fuck? So she gets a fucking ghost phone call from her dead dad, which is insane. Then we see the homeless guy again. His face is all fucked up, and then you find out that in reality he's hung himself and wrote a bunch of shit on the walls in blood somehow. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Okay, cool. So that's happened. Then John Michael Payman shows up. He takes the fucking bag off of his face, and he's got this like pentagram scar in his face. His eyes are yellow. His teeth are super sharp. He looks demonic, if you will. So I thought that was, interesting to say the least. But it does show that this movie's budget was very, very low. Officer Price finger guns himself to death, essentially. His fucking head blows off and his eyes roll in the back. It's just a lot of ghost shit happening on the screen back to back. Just spooky ghost shit, spooky ghost shit, spooky ghost shit. Like, it's just happening. Then we get like another jump scare from Payman himself. Dead dad calls again. Then he's telling her to, the man that killed him is there. She has to avenge him and shit. And then she sees conveniently some people have like broken into the police department that are masked up. She starts capping the shit out of these guys. She shoots all these people, and then she gets shot in the back by Sergeant Cohen all of a sudden. Turns out that in reality, the people that were in the building were the BioClean guy, the Joe I mentioned earlier in the film. Him and his team finally show up to clean up the entire precinct or whatever, but she's got like ghost amnesia or whatever, so she's shooting these guys thinking that they're demons, and the Sarge had to shoot her in the back because she was killing people, like real people, and then she starts to figure out that she was hallucinating like the whole movie, and somehow Payman and the dead girls show up and nobody can see them but her, and they put a fucking bag on her head, which is ridiculous, and she starts singing the same song from the family that they sing. So I'm assuming this means that she's now a part of the family, and then the fucking movie just ends pretty much after that. So this movie essentially resulted from a bunch of spooky phone calls, spooky ghost shit, and a pretty weak story, to be honest. So moving right into the review, like out of 5, I would give this movie like a 2.5 because the imagery was there. You know what I'm saying? The imagery was pretty spooky to say the least, but it's the same kind of shit you would expect. Like, you're in a house with your homies, nobody's there but you guys. It's dark as fuck. Y'all are walking around with flashlights trying to scare each other, right? Like, it's the same kind of shit. And I feel like if I watched this in like 2016 when it came out, maybe it would have hit a little differently. But just watching it for the first time today, it wasn't the best horror movie I've ever seen, but it also wasn't the worst. Like, I don't think this movie was absolute dog shit, but I'm gonna be honest. I think the reason why this movie, because it was right under an hour and a half, so it did not overstay its welcome. Thank God. If this movie was any longer than it was, it would probably be dog shit. So, Jordan, once again, thank you for showing me this. This has actually been on my list to watch for years. I'm glad I finally watched it. I'm not looking forward to watching it again anytime soon. I would watch it again, but like years from now. Like, I need to forget all the spooky ghost shit before I go back and watch it. But like the problem, aside from them not having a budget, is that we only learn anything about the story because random fucking characters just come on screen, info dump a bunch of shit, and then piece the fuck out. Like, if that wasn't the way that they gave us information, this movie would have been a lot better and a lot scarier too. So I'm pretty sure that Malum is a movie that came out after this.
I was
Is a
gonna bring that up.
prequel. Yeah. Malum, I'm pretty sure is a prequel to this, and it's not listed as a is. And we get the story that I'm saying that we keep hearing about in this film, but we don't actually see. So I can't wait to watch that shit. Like I much rather watch Malum because that seems like a much better film than this one does. But we did get the imagery of the payman guy and fucking pentagram face and shit and the yellow eyes and all that stuff. But the payman that we got in Hereditary, leagues better. Like leagues better. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, that's my notes and my review on Last Shift. Uh, Definitely would be better if alcohol was involved, but it wasn't dog shit. So good.
So in other words, Christian's first rating that's not boo boo shoes on cinema.
What's your
Why
rating?
are you going to the 5 rating? When inspired you to start going to 5?
I think I'm doing that because I've been using less. Out of 10 though, like, ooh, out of 10, I'd probably give this movie like a 5.5. Mostly because like it did have some spooky in it, but that's the problem. Like I don't want some random hooker to show up in the movie with a black eye that we about, telling us the whole story of the movie and then walking away. What do you mean? I was pissed.
I mean, yeah. All right, so I have no desire to watch this movie anytime soon. Again, but with that being said, would I watch it again? Kind of like Chris said, way down the road, yeah. It's more of a movie for me now that I've watched it. If it's on, I'll do other things. Like it could be on in the background, and I'm okay with that, like semi. But it's not one I'm gonna put on in the background, like willing. Like let's put on Last Shift while I decorate or something. You know, like it's no. I think it suffered a lot. Like you said, there's tons of the info dumps and the way they approach things could have been better. It feels like an older horror video game at times, with just how things are done. Some of the imagery is cool. Some of it is, you can tell it's not at their fault. Like they're cashing in like, oh, let's just be cheesy because we have no other option. They were trying to milk every cent is how I perceived it. On parts, they were like,
for sure.
Every cent that we have, we're going to try to make this as scary as possible, like to our best ability. Yeah. Or like when they did the ghost shit, like as Christian has said, like they're trying to scare you. Not all of it comes off well because of the budget. I'm going to blame most of it on the budget. I mean, there's only so much they could do. I would give it, I'm going to go out of 10. I'm going to give it a 4.5, 4.5.
Fair.
I mean, I could go as low as I could go to a 4. I mean, again, it's not boo boo shoes. It's better than last week for sure. I would much rather watch this again than what I watched last week for easily.
Yeah, for sure.
But this isn't like game changer. I'm going to compare this to obviously a movie that this is not even remotely same premise, same league. Last year I watched Train to Busan for the first time. That is 100% in my spooky month watching again this year. That movie impressed me and is a movie I'm like, wow, I'm going to keep that in rotation. This is not that kind of movie.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But good. Sense. I mean, I can now say that I've seen Last Shift. I had not seen it. That was a new watch for me. So thank you, Jordan, for that. And again, it's you got the car at least somewhere off the ravine down wherever in the hell you drove us last week. We're at least getting back to like drivable area. So you got us back. You got a positive score. Last week, nothing was positive. Everything was way negative.
Well, all right.
Yeah. All right. With that being said, do we lock in our movie for next week or do we try to find, since you brought it up, because I have seen that Malum is a much better movie. People are saying that it is like much, much more like flushed out. I did see stuff about it, so I was actually kind of curious. It came out in 2023?
Yeah, it did.
Wait, is this the same movie? Dude, this is the same movie. I don't think it's a prequel. This is like...
Really?
A rookie police officer takes the last shift at a newly decommissioned station and attempt to uncover the mysterious connection between her. Yeah. Wow.
That they just remake the movie? That's hilarious.
Based on last shift, yeah. Box
Yeah,
office
it
made
is because
$221,000. Oh no.
it definitely is because the main characters.
Where is this at? I'm just curious. It's on Hulu, possibly. I don't know. Do we suffer with the same story, or do we go something different? That's not a suggestion we have. It's just kind of playing off of.
I mean, I wouldn't mind watching this one, but do we have other suggestions as well? Excuse me.
Okay, so if we want to go off other suggestions, a couple that stand out right now, Triangle. Jeepers Creepers, I don't really know where, I'm not sure where that one's at. We both have seen Jeepers, but it'd be kind of fun to watch it again after, like actually going through it. Invitation, sure. The Burning, The Uninvited, Triangle, and then Bunny Man we said right now we can't do because we're at streaming, and then Llamageddon are currently our recommendations. What are you feeling? I feel like, is Triangle a slasher?
I don't know. Just based off of what you said just now, either the rewatch of Jeepers or checking out Malum.
Checking out what? Oh,
checking out Malum, yeah, or doing Jeepers the rewatch.
I would say, should we try to do both? That way we throw in one of our own and then.
I mean, we could probably make that work.
Jeepers. I mean, Jeepers would be a good, especially with creepy, like spooky season going. Let's do Jeepers. Where is Jeepers? Do you know?
Let's look it up right now.
We may do Jeepers though. This is on the on the inside suggestion. Yes, we've both seen it. Full disclaimer. That is not off the table when you guys suggest. If you want to suggest, again, Discord, there's a channel for that. Drop suggestions for movies for us to watch and discuss. If it's something we've watched, like Jeepers or whatever, kind of the plan is we're rewatching it with like really focusing on it. Like a lot of times you can watch like a Friday the 13th again or something, or Nightmare on Elm Street, or whatever, Exorcist. We've seen it so much that you're watching, you're kind of going through the motions. Mm-hmm. But you're not like picking through it. Like we're gonna actually watch it and like, from 2024 standard, like, hey, was this movie as good as we really remember it being? Kind of like, I guess, our thought process for it. But for other stuff like Last Shift, it's first watch, first impressions, all that.
It seems like it's probably available on Prime.
On Prime?
I'll have
Sweet.
to double check that.
So I think, did I say Malum was on? No, Hulu. Might be on Prime
Hulu,
too,
yeah.
actually. I don't know.
I'll check.
But yeah. Oh God, dude. That same story again, I swear. We're just going to hear Christian say, spooky ghost shit, spooky ghost shit.
Can't wait.
Oh my God. But yeah, it's spooky season, man. It's time for all the stuff. All the stuff and things. I'm excited. I have a lot I want to watch this year. A lot of stuff. I'm trying to think of like good stuff to every year I try to add new stuff for Mrs. Sin to experience, because she hasn't watched a lot of the horror that I've watched and a lot of the older, like, because it's no secret I'm a sucker for 80s horror. I really do like 80s horror a lot. And there's a lot of stuff she hasn't seen. So I don't know what I'm going to find this year. I might find some of the old zombie flicks for her to watch.
Have you seen has she seen Day of the Dead?
No. I don't know that she's seen most of them. Yeah, that's I'm thinking about those will be really fun. Maybe Puppet Master or Phantasm 4. I don't know. I'm not sure.
You've never seen Puppet Master?
There is one that I saw that I definitely want to see, that I've wanted to see. I don't know how good it is. It's newer. It's called Studio 666. It's the Foo Fighters movie. Do you know what I'm talking about, where they get like possessed or something in the studio?
I know what you're talking about, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I want to watch it. I can't imagine it being much over B, but I want to watch it. I feel like it's going to embrace the B well, hopefully. Trying to think what else there was. There were several things I saw that like I'm trying to like make my list for the month. I'm ready for it though. I'm ready for all the spookiness. My son's eating chocula from Booberry. I'm ready for it. Already had some candy corn in this like sweet and salty treat our friend made.
Mm-hmm.
It's like candy corn and peanuts and M&Ms.
Nice.
It's delicious. It's a magical.
That sounds amazing.
It's a magical treat. But that's gonna do it for this episode. Unless Christian has anything else he would like to discuss.
That's it.
All right. Well, that's gonna do it for this episode. We appreciate you all being here and listening. Again, if you want to submit something for us to watch for cinema, are we continuing this through spooky season? I guess we will throughout, like even after spooky season.
Mm-hmm.
All right, there you go. We're gonna continue it after. But keep dropping those submissions in the Discord channel. There's a section just called Cinema. You can drop them there. I did, before I forget, it wasn't dropped in that section, but Hostel series was brought up.
Nice.
That maybe we should do something Hostel. We could do a Hostel sometime. I mean,
yeah, it's been a hot minute since I've seen any of those.
It's been a while since I watched Hostel. It's not one I keep on my rotation, but I've seen them.
Same.
But yeah, so drop those suggestions. You can also hit us up on social media and drop them there. At Sippin With Sin, SIPPIN with Sin. Twitter, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. Hit us up there. Follow, show some love. We're going to make Christian get to work on the socials because Christian needs to get to work. We got to put him to work, put them dreadlocks to work. So go send Christian DMs and whisper sweet nothings to him. He looks so sad right now.
Sick, man.
He looks so sad. He looks like Corliss after he found out that, you know. Anyways, yeah. So, follow the socials. New episodes come out every Wednesday, 8 a.m. Central Time on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff, as well as on my YouTube channel. You can watch the video version, see Christian's face, and see how sad he was just then. YouTube.com/IamSinister. 8 a.m. every Wednesday. Go show it love. We would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Help us grow the podcast. We need all the help we can get. Keep sharing it, keep spreading it, and keep giving us a reason to come back every week. You can find me on my socials. I am Sinister TV on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch, all that stuff. And then you can find me at youtube.com/IamSinister, as well as kick.com/IamSinister, where we live stream the podcast episodes. You can find my other podcast every Friday whenever I'm able to have people booked. Fridays, 8 a.m. Central Time, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and then, of course, on my YouTube, youtube.com/IamSinister. Actually excited for I'm recording an episode tomorrow, Christian, and I'm excited for my guest. So time of recording it will be coming out like in the next couple days on everything. So definitely go check it out. Behind the Vocals is the name of it. And I'll be interviewing Marcus from Invent Animate tomorrow, which I'm pretty stoked for. But that's where you can find me. Christian, where can the lovely folks find you?
You guys can find me on Instagram at Vin and Ink. That's all one word. You guys, my full name, Christian Vincent. Those are only two places you guys can find me because, contrary to popular belief, I don't have much more than that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to do it for this episode this week. We appreciate you all being here. Everybody have a great one. You don't have to go home, but you got to go out into the spooky street alone because it's time for us to shut it down till next week. Christian, do your thing.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Sipping With Sin. Where did Sinning with Sin come from? That's never happened before. Anyway, thank you guys again. If you guys have stayed this long, you're real ones. The COVID is trying to take me out actively. You can see it on camera. You can hear it in your headphones. It's ridiculous. But guys, I'm going to leave you with 3 words. They won't be able to protect you from COVID, but they can protect you from everything else. Listen very carefully. If you've never heard these words before, you've heard them before, stand with me. Those 3 words are, don't get gutted.
See you guys next week.